Television and recording star Jim Neighbors.
A great moment at Indianapolis. Some 300,000 people. And Jim Neighbors singing "It's a Tradition Now," back home again in Indiana.
Back home again.
All right, and in just a couple of minutes, we'll be hearing another of the traditions here at Indianapolis. Track owner Tony Holman in the simple words, "Gentlemen, start your engines." Before that happens, however, let's set our commentary team. Down in the pits, we'll have Bill Fleming and Prissy Kanamaki. Riding in the pace car again this year and serving as our host for the Indianapolis 500, Chris Schenkel. I'm Jim McKay. I'll be in the commentary booth once more, but Jackie Stewart will not be with me this time. He was here for qualifying, and of course, he's been here in previous years, but today, Jackie is covering for ABC Sports the Grand Prix of Monaco, the Formula One race through the streets of Monte Carlo. So with me on this occasion is going to be a most interesting and young man of most diverse talents. His name is Sam Posey. He's an artist, but he also is a race driver. He finished 5th in the Indianapolis 500 2 years ago in his rookie year. One of the best-known sports car drivers in the country. In fact, he even manages his own Formula 5000 team. Welcome, Sam. And I should think that the team aspect is going to be very important this year, isn't it?
Absolutely, Jim. I must say I've never been so excited before an event. Although the past tradition here of high speeds has been replaced, it's been replaced by a new tradition of high intrigue. There's going to be more action in the pits, more strategy. One of the teams, Grant Kings, has a computer in the pits. Everybody's got a jillion stopwatches around their necks. There are headsets on the team leaders such as Dan Gurney and Parnelli Jones, Mark Donahue, men who have won this race before, are going to be directing their drivers out there on the track. They're going to be 8 to 10 pit stops. A lot of fuel pumped, less than ever before. It's going to be rationed so carefully that everyone's going to be thinking fuel and strategy all day long.
Okay, so it's going to be high scientific energy down in the pits. But somebody has to climb into the race car. Somebody has to go out all alone and drive that car. Sam, why don't you take us on a tour of the course, so to speak? What does it look like to drive Indy?
The single most surprising thing about driving a race car in Indianapolis is that speed like this, more than 200 miles an hour, becomes commonplace after a few laps. Now, in spite of that, you have to keep your concentration up 100% because each of the turns is different. Turn 1 here has these big grandstands looming up. Whereas turn 2, which is coming up, is much more open, a much easier appearing turn to take. And yet, the radius is almost exactly the same. In fact, there's some bumps on the inside, which threaten to throw the car out of control. Now, this is the back straight, the time that I usually looked at the gauges. It's ironic that at 200 or 220 miles an hour, you find time to look at the gauges, but you have to. Turn 3 is so open, it almost seems to be in an open field. And this led me to such overconfidence that a few years ago, I hit the wall right here, right on the outside. Turn 4 is by far the most open turn now. You can see the incredible width of the pit lane, which is brand new this year. And so when you come off the track like this and into the pits, it's ironic that in a way the driver becomes so accustomed to the speed on the track that this slowing down process is the most foreign, almost the hardest for him to control, and he feels a feeling of great apprehension about whether or not he will be getting back to speed in a few minutes.
It really is one of the fascinating things about this place, Sam, that to the layman's eye it looks so identical in every corner, but as you just explained, everyone is entirely different.
Very different, and yet they're only the most subtle things. If we weren't trying to go through them at 200 miles an hour, they'd all look the same.
Well, now, you've explained what it's like to be in the race car, and at those moments, I'm sure you're so busy, all you're thinking about is exactly that. But what about before the race? At this moment right now, 33 guys down there, I should think getting lonelier by the minute. Can you put into words what might be going through a driver's mind?
Well, 2 years ago, when I was about to do this race, I was hiding in my garage at this point.
Literally?
Literally hiding there. The crew had wheeled a car out to the grid, and I was just trying to stay by myself, to keep away from people, to organize my thoughts, because you must be extremely organized in your mind when you start to do this. The first thing that helps you in that direction is when you begin to get dressed, to put on the flame-proof clothing, to pull the balaclava, it's called, down over your head, and to fasten your suit on around you and put your gloves on. It's a very calming thing. Even so, attention is there, and it reaches out to just about every part of your body, your fingers and every part of you. And it's people, some of them yawn, some of them appear very calm, but inside it's incredible. In fact, when I was on the grid here at Indianapolis, my mind almost couldn't take any more tension, began to wander off. And I thought of my home back in Connecticut, sitting by the lakes. It was just as much as I could take, really. And so finally, of course, the moment comes to get in the car, and I think that's probably the first moment the driver begins to relax at all. The feeling of being, the comfort of the car, the things that are familiar to him, help him to begin to relax and focus his mind at last on the beginning of the race.
Back in that somewhat safe-seeming to a race driver cocoon of his. Well, as you indicated, Sam, their tension is about to end. It's time for the cry from track owner and president Tony Holman.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
In a minute, we'll be back for a look at the starting grid. Crowd streaming, supposedly privileged press and mechanics and people like that, streaming from the race course now. It's a great engine start. There is Johnny Rutherford in car number 3 with the Lone Star of Texas on his helmet. He'll be starting way back in the 9th row. We'll be going into that in a minute or so because of a qualifying technicality that he got into. There is the first row. Or no, there's one of the middle rows. You see Salt Walter in the middle in the Dayton Walther Special number 77, the young man who was badly burned here last year. One of the Viceroy cars there. All of them with the engines going, just about ready for the start. We'll be back in a minute. Right now, down to our host for the Indianapolis 500 again this year, riding right in the pace car, to my colleague, Chris Schenkel.
Into the number 2 turn. This is a view you will see of the cars as our ABC colored coverage, exclusive coverage of the Indianapolis 500. We're now in the number 2 turn, which has sort of an open effect for the driver. And then we move into the 5/8 of a mile straightaway. Looking into a somewhat open turn, 5/8 of a mile away, the number 3 turn, and incidentally, the field of 33 will be going into a crosswind as they go down the track in this direction. Number 61, we've just been informed, Rick Muther's car would not start. And this is an unfortunate thing for number 61, Rick Muther of the Eisenhower Racing. That's a Coyote Ford, one of the 5 Foyt Fords or V8s in the field. The rest are 4-cylinder Offenhausers. So it's a battle between the pole sitter, his 17th time in the Indianapolis 500, and behind us as you watch our coverage, you'll see the cars. They are not out of control. They are merely limbering up the steering, getting some of the tension out of their own hands, arms, and those bodies that'll have to now go 200 laps. We now are in turn 3. Each of the 4 turns is banked at a 9-degree level. They are different, however, because of upheaval of Earth. With winters in Indiana, it causes the surface to be higher here, higher there, even though they are the same, a quarter of a mile long. So now we move into the number 4 turn, and we should point out that this is the parade lap. Chief Stewart, for the first time this year, Tom Benford, indicates, as Rick Muther, unfortunately, still not has the Coyote or the Foyt Ford V8. And now it is turning over. The 8 cylinders of the Foyt Ford in Rick Muther's car are going up and down, sucking in the air through the turbochargers. So with reduced wings, less fuel from 350 gallons back to 280, there will be more in this spot. is in one of the two side, A.J. Foyt and Mike Kiss in car number 68. It's a rainbow of colors as we look down behind the pace car now and see this field closing up very well. They are listening to the words of the new chief steward, Tom Bedford, of trying to get into shape. We look back into the pits in car number 20, Gordon Johncock, his crew working on it very hard as we now... We are reaching a speed now in the number one turn of 60 miles an hour. Astronaut Frank Borman in contact with the chief steward alongside, and the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Watching now as we slip through the chute, the south chute, into the number two turn. As the sun comes out here in Indiana, I have never seen so many people. I have never seen so many people here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in all the years. All right, number 20, Gordon Johncock is back up in position. And you'll be seeing a lot of coverage of the ninth row in that field as we look back, and they are in great position at the moment. As the 33 cars, over $4 million worth of machinery, battling for $1 million. Our pace car now is going up to 90 miles an hour as we head for the three-turn. So the green flag is moments away. And for a report on that, let's go back up into the stands to Jim McKay. Jim?
All right, thank you very much, Chris. Chris Schenkel riding in the pace car again this year with a very graphic description. I am Jim McKay in the booth with Sam Posey, our expert this year, remember. And one question is in everybody's mind right now. Will it be a good start? How do they look, Sam?
So far, so good, although that first lap was incredibly tense with Muther unable to get away and Johncock pulling into the pits for a very quick fix right in front of us here. We couldn't tell what it was, but they're both back in the field. They've taken their positions up.
Okay. Stand by. A.J. Foyt on the pole. The red car in the middle is Wally Dallenbach. On the outside, Mike Hiss. It looks like the pace car is coming in. Let's see. Or is he going to give them another one? They'll have to commit themselves. Yeah, the pace car is coming in. He's off the track. We're going to get a start in the Indianapolis 500. A.J. Foyt on the pole. Next to him, Dallenbach. And then Mike Hiss. Pat Padan on the tower on the left far side of your picture. No green flag yet. He's holding them right to the last minute. There's the green flag. They're racing at Indianapolis. And it's Wally Dallenbach quickly going for the lead. A.J. Foyt dropping back a little bit. Wally Dallenbach in the George Bignotti prepared car had a flying start, didn't they, Sam?
Certainly did, and Jim, that's one of the best starts I think I've ever seen. They let them come up very slowly, closely bunched. It was a perfect start.
Okay, so A.J. Foyt, whom everybody had thought would really just go flat out into turn one, did not do this. Whether it was of his own volition or whether he had some problem, we don't know yet, but Wally Dallenbach was flying.
It's probably the big blower that caused so much controversy in the qualifying runs. It's putting Dallenbach so far ahead. But bear in mind, later on in the race, he may have fuel trouble because of this blower.
A.J. Foyt sitting in second position in the race, and third is last year's champion Gordon Johncock. Apparently the small problem he had is not bothering him now. So we have the two Patrick Petroleum cars in first and third place, and in between them A.J. Foyt. Mario Andretti right there is in fourth place from the Parnelli-Jones team, and Mike Hiss has dropped back into fifth position. Those are the leaders at the end of one lap of the 200 laps of the Indianapolis 500. Look at that crowd, just one of the many grandstands around this course. Somewhere over 300,000 people.
Jim is already more than 2 seconds back. Wally's pulling this well out. It isn't just with horsepower. He's driving beautifully. He's coming right up next to the walls. The first three cars are just going absolutely perfect.
All right, well, now you touched on the idea of the big blower, Sam.
Yeah, he's already smoking, actually. Wally's already having some trouble.
That's Gary Bettenhausen in car number 8 from the Roger Penske team, slowing down. There is Penske, the team manager, the mastermind of Penske Racing Operations, and they're known as one of the most meticulous and perfect operations in racing. And now Dallenbach has slowed down. We have two important cars slowing down, and that big blower perhaps just can't do the job. Mario Andretti into the pits.
A lot of trouble here. There was smoke coming from Dallenbach's car. We'll have to find out in a second for you what it is. Mario, unexpectedly, there are a lot of, not only Mario, but also Dick Simon now in the pits.
Right.
This is, for having had a clean start, there's now an awful lot of trouble around the racetrack, although fortunately nobody hurt.
And guess who's leading the race? It's A.J. Foyt after his 4th Indianapolis 500, but he is closely pursued now by car number 20, the defending champion, Gordon Johncock. You're looking at Dick Simon right now in car number 44. He is the father of 7 children. There is Mario Andretti in car number 5. He's in the pits. And Bettenhausen has made it around to the pit area. They'll have a chance to see what's wrong with his car. There is Gary Bettenhausen in the Penske pits. And a tight look at the son of a man who was killed in this race course in practice some 13 years ago.
Okay, now Johnny Rutherford is really the story of the race at this point. He's moved up into 9th already. He's probably going to pick up another couple of places in the next few minutes.
Okay, now Wally Dallenbach has come into the pits.
A lot of big
Mario
name people.
Andretti out of the car. Excuse me. And so it goes in the early going. The leader, the man after the will-o'-the-wisp, the 4th Indy 500, A.J. Foyt. We'll be back in a minute. Gary Bettenhausen is out of the race, and is he angry, furiously throwing his helmet to the race course. He has long appeared to think that there's a jinx on the Bettenhausen family here at Indy. They have never won it, neither his father before him nor he, and now he is stomping off to Gasoline Alley. Mario Andretti also out of it, taking a quieter approach to what must also be a very heartbreaking moment for him. Out on the race course, A.J. Foyt still leads in car number 14. The Foyt Coyote with the Foyt engine is his operation all the way.
Looking awful smooth, Jim.
Now, here's a replay of a few moments ago when Johnny Rutherford started moving up through the pack in the orange car, pursuing the white car there. Rutherford has been passing automobile after automobile. He started way back in the 9th row, but he had the second fastest qualifying time of anybody, and he can really move in that McLaren car. The 3rd car in your picture at the moment.
Yeah, and look at him moving up. He's already moved into the slipstream of the 2 cars in front of him. He's coming out. There's a pass. There's the first place. Will he make it for the second one? It looks like he will. Yes, he just confidently goes right by him.
Well, we'll be keeping an eye on Johnny Rutherford. And now, Wally Dallenbach, who led the race on the first lap, is not only into the pits, but out of the race. It's all over for car number 40. It happens so suddenly in this sport.
Can you imagine that? One minute he was leading, and now he's taking his gear off. He can't have even worked up a sweat on that time, Jim.
A couple of years ago, Wally had a very exciting but difficult race here when he caught on fire in the pits about 4 times. Remember?
Well, he sure did. He kept burning up in front of me. This didn't do much for me.
There are those who think that A.J. Foyt may just keep stretching it and have nobody for competition in this race.
Well, that could happen. I remember back in '65, Jim Clark did that. He just started away, and away he went.
Well, there's Mario Andretti's car being wheeled back to Gasoline Alley. And there we have Mike Mosley off the course in car number 98. Now, he started in very good position on the outside of the 2nd row.
Absolutely. There are as many people out of this race right now, Jim, as if there had been a first lap accident.
Looks like the attrition is going to be tremendous here today, although it is not really all that hot.
I don't see why it should be. It's a perfectly ordinary day. The cars haven't been stressed, especially during qualifying or anything. Here's Mosley's car, completely out of contention. He was one of the guys I thought would do very well.
Okay, well, pit stops will be coming up soon, routine pit stops. Here's how Sam views those.
Scenario for the pit stop is to execute it just as quickly as you possibly can, but without making any mistakes. 6 men are allowed to work on the car, but one of those must be the driver, who of course isn't doing anything. The problem is to put the new tires on as quickly or quicker than it takes to flow the fuel into the car, which is going to be about 20 seconds on a bogey pit stop. Now, the minute the car comes in here, you can see the guy rush out. The fuel hose is the first thing that's connected. It's an aircraft coupling. The car is swung up quickly on the jacks. It's very light. That goes quickly. And now the hardest part, the changing of the tires without making a single mistake, because a mistake could be terribly costly at this point. The best men work on this with these pneumatic drills, which just rip the lugs on and off. And it's an incredibly quick operation. It shouldn't be more than 20 seconds before the car slams down onto the road and the driver's ready to leave.
Okay, now remember, that was a demonstration pit stop, as Sam described it. Soon we will be seeing the first routine pit stops of the race. There are going to be a lot of them because of the fuel restrictions this year. Let's go down to Mario Andretti.
Mario, what happened?
Broke a piston. Just still can't believe it.
You know, how do you account for all those cars all of a sudden just dropping out? Was it the blistering pace?
No, I don't think so. Everything was normal. I wasn't using any more pressure than what I had planned. And everything was fine. The revs were well within the range. We're below 9,000 revs. So I don't know. The engine was warm. Everything was warm. It was normal. And
Those are very frustrating moments in racing. Too bad, Mario.
there goes.
All right, back up topside.
With Bill Fleming, that was Mario Andretti, born in Italy, grew up in a displaced persons camp, former champion of the Indianapolis 500 and out of it now. On the race course, A.J. Foot of Texas is still the leader. We'll be back in another minute. We return to the Indianapolis 500, our same-day coverage. Jim McKay here with our expert, Sam Posey. The leader is still number 14, A.J. Foyt Jr. of Texas, trying for his fourth victory in the Indianapolis race. Nobody has ever achieved that aim as yet. In second place at the moment is Bobby Unser from the Dan Gurney stable in car number 48. And amazingly, in third place is car number 3, Johnny Rutherford, who started all the way in the 9th row. Let's go down to Chris Economaki in the pits.
Well, the first big disappointment was Wally Dallenbach going out. Wally, your race was short-lived. What was the trouble?
Well, the car was beautiful. I felt right, and everything was just our way. And something happened internally in the engine, and I smelled smoke. And we took a look inside of it, and it looked like we broke a piston. Had nothing to do with the blower or the blower pressure or anything like that. Looked like it was just a normal mechanical failure for some reason. Otherwise, we were all set to go to distance.
Did you have any trouble getting by Foyt?
No, an old track racer that I am. I was ready for him, and I had the boost in and everything ready to go. When that flag went down, I was ready.
You know, Mario Andretti and Gary Bettenhausen are out along with some other cars. Why do you think so many have fallen out so soon?
I can't really explain it. I thought we had it all covered. We had our engine on a dyno the other night, and everything looked beautiful. So all we can do is try next time. But the car was certainly right, and so was I.
Okay, thanks very much, Wally. Back topside.
And now the story seems to be taking shape on the racetrack. A.J. Foyt, as you saw, still 10 seconds in the lead. In second place, however, Bobby Unser in the Dan Gurney prepared car, number 48. Johnny Rutherford in car number 3, third, who, remember, has come all the way from the 9th row. One thing that's interesting, Sam, is the experience in these 3 race cars. A.J. Foyt is 39 years old. Bobby Unser is 40. Johnny Rutherford is 36. This isn't really a sport for brash kids, is it?
No, I mean, one point of view is they're just a bunch of old men out there driving around, Jim. But the truth of the matter is that you just do not succeed at Indianapolis without an incredible wealth of experience behind you.
We're going to have a dice right now, aren't we? Bobby Unser and Rutherford right together.
We sure are, and to be this close to Bobby, Rutherford, of course, has passed 2/3 of the field already, and the race is brand new. Here's David Hobbs, former sparring partner of mine. I'll be racing him all this summer. This is a little bit premature. That pit stop, we'll have to try to find out why.
Boy, if this is a preview of what's going to happen all afternoon, we're going to have some real racing. You can't get any close together in these cars.
Absolutely. Rutherford is absolutely fighting his car. He is driving right on the limit. This is not a cruise at all. He must be going flat out. He doesn't seem to be making anything on the straights. That McLaren seems to be doing it in the turns.
Interesting that both of these cars were made by people who made their reputations in road racing, in Formula One, basically. Dan Gurney of the United States was a great road racer, and of course the other is a McLaren car. There's Salt Walther into the pits in car number 77, the young man who was badly hurt last year, back again. Look at this racing side by side.
Absolutely. There's nothing in it as far as horsepower. Johnny absolutely took that position by just going in deeper. That's all. It isn't often you see Bobby Unser out-braved on this track. It tells me Bobby must be playing a very, very canny game. Johnny's obviously pushing it hard. We sure wish him luck. I think it's an absolutely brilliant drive up from very, very deep in the field. But now Salt's getting, I hope he's getting back out. Yes, I think he is. He is going.
Looks like he's okay.
Good.
There is Dan Gurney running his operation in the pits. Remember, he is the team manager of the Bobby Unser car.
All right, here's a rookie.
Jan Opperman. signed up by Parnelli Jones. They had him cut his hair twice in 2 days, and he is much straighter. A very good, promising young driver. Now there's Lloyd Ruby in car number 9, another veteran, well into his 40s, but still a top driver.
Oh, and here's Rutherford's first pit stop. Is this? No, this could be scheduled. Indeed, yes, it probably is. We're so worried when you see these leaders come in relatively unexpectedly.
This may go down as the Energy Crisis 500s. We said there are going to be many more pit stops because all the cars are given as a total of 285 gallons of racing fuel. That move was made during the energy crisis last winter and specifically has to do with that, but it's made for a different race today, as we've indicated already. There's the timing on the pit stop. Look at that.
That's a good one. That really is a good one, Jim. I judge that this relatively early pit stop may mean that Teddy Mayer, heading the McLaren Group, wants to be absolutely sure they establish their fuel consumption early in the race so that no mistakes we made. And here's AJ. Looks like coming right in. He's coming in very, very fast here, too.
Well, we'll see how fast he is. At the moment, that makes Bobby Unser the leader on the race course. He has yet to make his first pit stop.
Boy, AJ's men look awfully fast, too. They're changing a tire there. They've absolutely changing the right rear, which is very early in the going and want to change a tire. They seem to be doing it awfully fast, but this is going to have to give the advantage to Rutherford, who only spent 15 seconds in the pits.
Boy, that was a fast one, too. There is Bobby Unser on the race course, still the leader, but he'll have to pit very shortly. The standings, Unser, A.J. Foyt, Johnny Rutherford, Gordon Johncock, the defending champion, and rookie Tom Sneva. The racing goes on at Indianapolis. Again, we return to the Indianapolis 500. You're watching Bobby Unser in car number 48, about to make his first pit stop of the race. He has been leading, but now he will almost certainly lose that lead on his pit stop. See how quick it is? Jim McKay reporting here with Sam Posey, our expert. He's into the pits now, Sam.
And the interesting thing is that he, of the front runners, left his pit stop the latest. That means that perhaps he was running with very little boost. I think that might be a clue to how Rutherford passed him so relatively easily. The Gurney effort here must be quite conservative. I think they've learned from past lessons. Many times they've led only to break. Now they're judging a very, very fine race, it looks like to me. Bobby sure accelerating fast out of the pits there.
And there's AJ now back in front again. AJ Foyt is the leader. Johnny Rutherford second. Bobby Unser is third, and now Al Unser has moved into fourth.
He certainly has. Al is often comes up from nowhere in these things.
Jackie Stewart made a piece for us before he left about changes in the track.
From these narrow beginnings that are hardly wide enough, in fact, to take the modern racing car, you open out to the wide expanse of the new pit lane. The wide blacktop here is used when the driver comes off turn 3 and enters turn 4. The cars wishing to enter the pit lane should continue through turn 4 low on the racetrack on the new black surface. You know, in Europe there are few racetracks this wide, and this is only the pit lane. There's a lot of new paint on this part of the racetrack. On the left-hand side of this yellow line is technically the infield. On the right-hand side of the yellow line, well, that's the road entering the pit lane. Now, I don't much like the idea of the infield being able to be used by emergency equipment to go in the opposite direction of the race cars themselves. But, of course, these are ambulances and wreckers, so it may have to happen. Now, there's more paint over here, because on the left-hand side of these lines is, of course, the pit lane entry road. On the light-colored surface, you have the racetrack itself. Now, there are more lines, because this yellow line here, the intermittent yellow line, tells a driver that he should not attempt to enter the pit lane after he passes the start of the intermittent yellow line. So after an incredible amount of new blacktop surface, we finally enter the pit lane itself. Now, the pit lane has been extended by a full 1.5 football fields in length. Its demarcation point is this structure. Now, this I disapprove of, because if a race car hits this, it's going to be a horrible accident, and I think it's unnecessary. The new pit lane operation, however, I think is going to be considerably safer and considerably better than what we've ever seen at Indianapolis before.
Then Jackie talked to the new chief steward, Tom Binford, about some of the benefits to be derived from this new way of entering the pit area. Here's what he had to say.
I think there are two benefits that I can think of offhand. One of them is that we can bring the pace car off sooner than we've been able to do in the past. and get it out and away from the field in the fourth turn. But it also makes the entrance to the pit a straight line instead of having to dash in there or just kind of turn into it as they have in the past. They've also removed the wall that's angled out toward the track back a considerable distance, which will give a car an opportunity to spin a few times maybe before it would make contact with that wall in an accident situation. Now, we've had practice for 4 or 5 days to determine how they were using it. We found that the cars were coming around the fourth turn at full bore and then cutting across traffic to go into the pits. So we now have a line drawn at an angle from the outside pit wall back into the track. It's a dotted line to the right of which they may not go. On race day, there will be a penalty. In all probability, they'll be black flagged, which means they may come in and take their pit stop, and they go out and they have to come back in again.
And that penalty will only be a pit stop, or will it be a chat from the responsible
Well, it'll be a
stewards?
chat explaining it. We'll bring them in on a black flag and tell them what they did, and if they do it again, they may be eliminated altogether.
Okay, that was a piece taped by Jackie Stewart before he left for Monte Carlo, where he is reporting for ABC Sports today on the Grand Prix of Monaco. Back to the action in this year's Indianapolis 500. Still A.J. Foyt in front. Johnny Rutherford second and Bobby Unser third. Whoop, somebody's in trouble. It's a blown engine. Boy, after last year, you're scared. Every time you see a puff of smoke, you think it might be a crash. It's Jim Hurtubise in trouble. More bad luck for the fellow they call Hurt. In the early 60s, he was one of the big names around here. Since then, he's had nothing but trouble with his cars.
Certainly, this man's experience goes back so far that he was once the pole sitter on this track at 149 miles an hour. And what you just said about the reaction that we have here, I was terrified when I saw him jerk aside like that. It's some kind of conditioned thing, but so far the race has been absolutely safe, and we can only hope that it'll continue this way. Hurtubise, of course, was our last hope for somebody bringing a roadster to the Speedway this year, and when he decided to leave it, it's called the Mallard at home, why we don't have a roadster at all.
The old front engine cars that used to dominate completely this race. There you see the standings, but in second place, car number 3, Johnny Rutherford, is beginning to gain on A.J. Foyt, I think.
Well, I think he is, Jim, and I wonder what old Foyt thinks about this. Here's Rutherford up from way, way back in the pack. Now, in practice and to a certain extent in qualifying, Johnny showed his speed, but I don't think he could have expected that it would be this close this soon.
That's Rutherford. You're looking at the orange car. Both of them are orange cars, but of two different shades. There's AJ, the second car in your picture. Two orange cars. Now let's look back for the other orange car moving out there.
There it is.
It's Johnny Rutherford passing yet another racing machine. He is really moving.
Absolutely.
Both of these men from Texas, a kind of a disconcerting sight for A.J. Foyt from Texas to look in his rearview mirror and see the lone star on Johnny Rutherford's helmet.
Absolutely. I'm sure A.J. wants a Texan to win, but I don't think this other Texan is the guy he has in mind at all. But you saw when Rutherford pulled out as suddenly as that, then he appeared to jog almost unnecessarily back across the track, but that wasn't unnecessary at all. He was making full use of the track to get himself into the turn with as wide a line as he could have.
Certainly hope Johnny Rutherford's father is watching in Texas. He's been quite ill, and this is a real big day for him with his son moving up on A.J. Foyt. We'll be right back to find out what happens. Again, we return to the Indianapolis 500, and Johnny Rutherford is still closing in on the leader, closing in on A.J. Foyt. Foyt seeking his 4th Indianapolis victory. Johnny Rutherford still looking for his first. He's been a racer for 15 years, but he's never won the big one. In fact, his best finish was 9th place last year. Again, news from the pits with Chrissy Katamaki.
Here in pit road, other crews are saying Foyt has suddenly adopted a conservative method of driving. He's backing off well before his normal shutoff point. He'll be coming in at 46 laps for fuel, but more importantly, Johnny Rutherford will go to the 48th lap, which means Rutherford's car figures to be getting considerably better mileage than Foyt.
Well, no matter what AJ's strategy is, I cannot imagine him letting Johnny Rutherford get by him on purpose, can you?
No, I can't either. Jim, I know that these guys are such pros that at this point they want to feel each other out. They're not desperate to go after the lead, and the $200 per lap, which is an incredible sum really for a feat that takes about 45 seconds, probably doesn't mean very much to them at this point. And yet, here they are, these two guys. I just can't imagine that Rutherford doesn't kind of want to take the lead. To slipstream, of course, to hang in there behind AJ would only help what is apparently an already very favorable fuel situation he has going for him. still, to be running ahead on your fuel consumption at this point, which is, you know, so early in the race, is still an awful lot yet to happen, and mistakes can be made, probably will be made in the pit stops, despite the skill of both the crews that represent these men here. But I'm sure both these guys, it's an ego thing. You wouldn't be racing a car if you didn't want to lead the Indianapolis 500.
In other words, is it this simple? No matter how complex this race becomes, no matter how technical the strategy, you're still a race driver, and when you see somebody in your mirror, you don't want him to go by. But boy, Rutherford's sure going to try to do it to AJ. Is that about it?
Just so, Jim, absolutely. I mean, we can talk about all the pop-off valves and all the technical stuff and the millions of dollars, but if there's a guy out front of you and you're a driver worth your salt, you're probably trying to pass him somehow or another. And similarly, if you're the guy in front, and of course right now, AJ's got a mirror full of his Texas friend Rutherford there, and I'm sure he's devising ways to keep him back there. Of course, they're going. I mean, all this ballet that we're looking at, which in some ways almost seems like slow motion. We're looking at 180 miles an hour right here through this turn. They're teetering through there at 180 miles an hour. They're averaging over 185 miles an hour, probably new records as we're going along, and doing well over 200 down the straight.
200 miles an hour. It's impossible for the average person to really relate to that. Well, look at them, so close together.
It's funny, we saw a little bit of the track earlier, which I was talking about. It is almost hard when you're driving to realize you're going that fast. You see the wall, it's hasn't got anything along it. It's like a ribbon that's just beside you all the time. You eat up the road very, very smoothly. It seems almost calm at times. Both these men are deliberating. They're thinking about what's going on, the strategy. I'm sure they're checking their instruments. This isn't desperation driving.
We saw on the pit board sign there, they're going to bring Rutherford in 2 laps for his next pit stop, for fuel. Johnny Rutherford, by the way, was a very promising driver. Everybody thought he'd be one of the big names. But then in 1966, he was in a real bad accident in Eldora, Ohio, broke both of his arms, was badly burned, and it really took him a couple of years, I think, to recover his strength and really get going again.
Yeah, but then, of course, he came back here, and he had that terrific run at the pole. And one year, and then of course last year he had the pole, and I think that is, if anything was required to fully restore his confidence, that and the faith that both Goodyear and McLaren have put in Johnny in the last couple of years, he thinks like a winner right now, I can tell you that.
On the family side, his wife, by the way, is scoring in the pits today, and A.J. Foyt's father, of course, is running his pit operation. One more lap, and they will bring John, that's what that means, Johnny Rutherford, in for fuel.
You know what I just saw, Jim? I just saw Mike Hiss, I believe. I don't know, sliding over to the right. Yeah, losing power. He's been falling back. He started from the front row, but he has not figured in the race. He's been losing speed steadily.
Okay, the battle goes on closer and closer. We'll be right back again.
Well, after a very safe but thrilling pace car ride with Jim Rathman, we're here at our Indy observation room and looking now at the official standing after 50 laps here of this 2.5 mile oval. In other words, 125 miles. As you see, for the second time, Bobby Unser has the lead. And second, A.J. Foyt, and followed by Johnny Rutherford and Al Unser, the last man to win this race from the pole position in 1970. And a record has been broken, 50 laps, a speed record, up front, averaging 177 miles an hour. So with all the boost and fuel restrictions and wing restrictions, this is quite a significant fact here early in the race after 50 laps, we should point out. And in the first 7 laps, 6 cars dropped out of the race, and through 49 laps, 10 cars are out of the race. In other words, 23 are still running here at Indy on a perfect day, and we're enjoying it along with you, and I know you're finding it a very competitive and exciting race. Well, from our Indy observation room, we'll be returning here soon, but now let's go back to Jim McCann, Sam Posey.
All right, Chris. There is Al Unser coming out of the pits in car number 15 of the Racing Unser brothers. He's won this race twice. Brother Bobby has won it once. Their other brother, Jerry, was killed here in the late 1950s.
Oh, look at this. Jim, Bobby Unser. Now, wait a minute. There's no smoke. It doesn't look like an engine. But if he was coming in a regular way, he would have come a lot harder. He's off the 4th turn. He's now going into the pits. But
there's that new pit entrance.
Yeah,
I'm not sure he isn't going as fast as he would be.
He's coasting now. The question is, why is he? Oops, look at that. No, why is he coasting?
Well, could he have run out of fuel? Judged it too close.
Entirely possible. Remember, he was the guy that went the furthest on that first stop. but I thought these guys were playing it conservatively.
Well, now he's gone to the 51st lap for that second stop, and that is stretching it as far as you can.
Yeah, well, nobody's made a move to look at the engine, Jim, which I think is good news, because he presumably radioed back to the pits what was going on, and they made no effort to check. Perhaps it is all right.
But then it almost probably is the fact that he ran out of fuel, because nothing else seems to be wrong with the car.
That's right. This pit stop is dragging on a bit. It shouldn't have gone over 20 seconds.
Looks like they have a little problem with the right rear.
Right. They put the fuel in the car. They're up to 30 seconds now. This is going to hurt. You don't want to fall off the pace this early. All right. That's funny. It's hard to know almost what they're doing now.
Well, look at this. Gordon Johncock coming in just as slowly. I have an idea maybe one or more of these cars have judged it too close, and we're going to see people running out of gas here today.
It could be. Now, I'm happy to see Bobby get away, although the timing on that stop is 40 seconds. And remember that is not only the time that he lost, because he also had to have that long coast into the pits. He lost more there, too. It's going to be very hard for him to make this up. And I considered him, both of us picked him, in fact, to win the race. He's in some trouble now.
Okay, well, A.J. Foyt is still the leader out on the race course. Johnny Rutherford second. Brother Al Unser now third, and Bobby dropping back to fourth because of that long pit stop. Johncock, as we said, last year's winner, in trouble, still coasting slowly down the pits. And look, his pit crew is now running down. They're going to have to push him in, it looks like. So,
yeah, this is allowed. Your pit crew is allowed to push you as long as you get to the entrance of the pit lane. Now, the pit lane is so long these days that apparently it's going to be a new deal. Your crew is going to have to be physically fit.
Well, and also, on this one occasion at least, Tom Binford has made the ruling that you can be towed into the pits if you run out of fuel, and restart, refuel, and continue in the race.
Well, I think Mr. Binford was very wise in this regard, because, in fact, I think he's been wise, frankly, Jim, in a number of things in the conduct of the race. But he realized that this year, with the fuel restrictions, here's Kristoloff as well.
Well, now look, here's the car, the other car from the same team as Gordon Johncock, and apparently with the same problem.
Well,
they must be running out of fuel, because there's obviously nothing wrong with these engines. They're not driving into the back of the car to see what's going on.
This is George Bignotti's crew. It's awkward for STP to have all these people running out of gas like this.
Maybe they better get a new computer.
But both cars were running well. See,
but I just saw another pit crewman go. I think they're going to have to push in Kristoloff, too. We think that this race would go to the fastest pit crew. Maybe that means the fastest running pit crew. I hope they've been doing wind sprints down on the Bignotti training area.
May very well. I think that if Jim Ryan decides to retire from track, he may have a future here in Indianapolis as one of the teams.
We're going to be seeing Jim on Wide World of Sports next Saturday. Big pro track meet at Madison Square Garden. Wow. But here's Kristoloff right now.
Look at that. They are pushing it along pretty well, too. Here's Foyt, of course, still leading, looking awful secure out there. At this point, it's hard to believe. Now, did you see Bobby just behind AJ there? He's a lap back at this point.
Right. A.J. Foyt still leads the Indianapolis 500. There's been a yellow flag on the track. Larry Cannon has had a problem out there in car number 59, so A.J. is pitting on the yellow.
Yeah, now, of course, this will be a big help to him, Jim, because when the yellow light is on, and here's Johnny Rutherford coming in as well. Both these men will benefit from the fact that the rest of the guys will only be going 80 miles an hour instead of 180.
So this is a very exciting thing. We have the two leaders in the race, in the pits at the same time, and by coincidence, they are pitted one right behind the other. Foyt in front looks like he's having a problem.
Yep.
Rutherford, of course, will have to pull around him if he's still in there. There's Johnny Rutherford with the Lone Star getting out of the pits.
Yep,
he's going to take the lead.
Yep, that's the lead right there. Rutherford almost running over some of Foyt's crewmen to get there.
Johnny Rutherford, who started in 25th place in this race, is now in the lead.
Incredible. And Foyt, I don't know. It's the right rear tire. It looks like they're not working on the engine. It's fitting a wheel that's giving him trouble. They're 50 seconds right now. They've been in there. That's longer even than Dan Gurney's pit stop with Bobby Unser a few minutes ago.
Can you imagine how AJ is steaming?
Yeah, but look at him slap his visor down. He's determined. He'll pull that back, I bet you.
Oh, there's a long way to go. But A.J. Foyt has lost the lead to Johnny Rutherford. You know, only 3 cars have ever won this race from further back than 25th position. Now, here's Larry Cannon out on the race course. He has stopped. This has been a very exciting weekend for Larry, because just the night before last, when AJ was racing in the sprint cars here in Indianapolis, Larry was also out there, and we went out to take a look at him. Look what happened to him. A wild crash, flipping, turning over several times, and we were really worried about Larry until the smoke cleared. And in time, he got out of that race car, walked away, and said, oh, it's just a little warm-up for the big Indianapolis 500. This was Friday night. Larry Boom Boom Cannon of Danville, Illinois. He was on the stretcher, but a couple of minutes later, he was off it. Former barber. Okay, now let's go down to Chris Economaki.
Foyt's latest pit stop was a bit mixed up. He took on 3 tires. He was gesticulating to his crew to change the right front, but he had to leave before they could change it. As he left, they were all sort of swearing at themselves and at one another. The first mix-up in A.J. Foyt's pit. Back to you, Jim.
Okay, good solid report for Chris Economaki as Johnny Rutherford has taken the lead in the Indianapolis 500 before a crowd presumably of more than 300,000 people. The weather fine today, slight overcast, but the sun shining most of the time. Still not too hot for the race cars either, is it, sir?
No, really. I think conditions are just about perfect. And the oh, look at that!
I believe that Pancho Carter touched the wall there. We have slow motion. Let's see if he did. He was just ahead of Johnny Rutherford. Look at the car at the top of the screen.
Yes. Oh, I see what happened. Yeah, there's the puff, a little puff right there. Well, that's just glancing. Now, I don't think that should stop.
That doesn't count?
Well, what it does is it rubs the lettering off your tires.
Okay, well, the yellow is out, and here comes Al Unser, who, remember, has moved up to 3rd place in this race. A 2-time winner out after his 3rd in the Parnelli Jones team. Oh, he's got caught on the pits. Yep. Green flag came out.
Yep. Here's Vukovic.
Oh, wait a minute.
Vukovic.
Yep.
No, sorry, I had that wrong. That's Rutherford there. He must continue to lead. Yep. Johnny's still well ahead here after this yellow.
No problems for Johnny Rutherford at the moment.
In fact, it's amazing how quickly he has regained his pace after the yellow. One of the things that marks a real pro in this league is how quickly you can get back into the rhythm of driving around this speedway after you've been slowed right down to 80 miles an hour. It's tough, too, under the yellow to keep the engine running smoothly and to keep the lights from fouling up. You come back on the power. Johnny has done all this, and here he comes, though, but now he's coming into the pit.
Okay, he's having to pit under the green here, so this will cost some valuable time as the other cars still go at full speed out on the race course. And now, there's the spin on the course. Doesn't look like anybody's hurt. That's Jan Opperman, car number 51, but that brings out the yellow flag at exactly the right moment for Johnny Rutherford.
Exactly. Just what I was going to say. In other words, here Rutherford has driven a perfectly judged race. He's had these immaculate pit stops, but now luck is riding with him too, Jim. Sometimes you need that to win this race. This guy could be a favored guy today. It's incredible that he has come through and he's gotten his break, and now a quick pit stop to boot. 21 seconds at this stage is very fast.
Of course, again, remember, if you haven't been to many automobile races, the reason it's helpful to pit on the yellow is that the other cars are restricted to 80 miles an hour out on the race course, so you lose much less space on the course while you're in the pit.
Exactly, and here's AJ coming in. I think at this point we can expect to see almost all the leaders in. It would seem almost a natural thing to do.
Okay, that often happens under the yellow. Jan Opperman is a rookie here and was driving the car originally scheduled for Joe Leonard. Joe, who was injured earlier this season, and to whom we send our very best as he continues his recuperation. There are the standings. Johnny Rutherford, A.J. Foyt, Al, and Bobby Unser. Still under the yellow, and we'll be right back. Well, the green flag is out, waved by starter Pat Fadan from the new tower on the home stretch, and Johnny Rutherford still leads the 1974 Indianapolis 500. You're watching same-day coverage on ABC Sports. The race taking place on this very afternoon, May 26, 1974, the 58th running of this great American sporting occasion. A perfectly, beautifully safe race so far. Really exciting racing, close racing. Nobody's been hurt.
What an occasion this is, too. I think that, frankly, the race being this safe to this point is as welcome really as a cool rain on parched earth. I really do. I just feel so good.
Okay, we're going down to the pits again now to my ABC Sports colleague, Bill Fleming, who's standing by there. Okay, Bill.
Well, never before in the Indianapolis history in modern years have they been so concerned about what's left in this tank. With me here is Don Marquis, Bobby Unser's crew, the 09 Eagle. Don, you might tell us what these markings mean. How much fuel do you have left?
We're trying to tell by this gauge here how much we've used. We're getting enough mileage to finish the race. We're getting about 1.88 miles per gallon right now.
Okay, now.
Through lap 92.
Right. Now, for instance, this was his first pit stop. There was the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, and right now, he has exactly 118 gallons left in here. How many do you think he has on board?
He should be full. We should be about 40 gallons when we load up.
So if everything goes right, he'll finish just with enough, right?
Should be just about right.
Okay, Don Marquis, Bobby Unser's crew. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Bill. Well, up in front we have the Battle of the Texans. Rutherford in front and Foyt second. And just behind them, we have the Battle of the Brothers. Al and Bobby Unser in cars number 48 and 15 battling for third place. Oh, there goes,
Jerry Carl.
He hit the wall all right. Yep. Jerry Carl in car number 42.
I'll say he hit that a pretty good smack. He had the brakes locked up. That's what all the smoke was. The wheels are absolutely locked up as he slid into it.
Well, that's the first crash of the race. No word on Jerry yet. The ambulance is there.
I'd say he hit it about, looks like to me about 100 miles an hour, I'd say.
But it looks like he's out of the car walking around. They're putting the stretcher back in.
That's terrific.
I would think that impact-absorbing material that's in the right side of the car instead of fuel certainly helped on that one. Let's go down again to the pits, to Chris Economaki. This time,
the great increase in championship car speeds today is attributable in great part to aerodynamics. And when one thinks of aerodynamics as they relate to a car, it means a wing. On the back of today's Indianapolis car, a wing is standard equipment. Last year's 500, cars were allowed wings 64 inches wide, could use 375 gallons of gas for the 500-mile race, and carry 75 gallons on board. Shortly after last year's fiery crashes, the wing size was cut from 64 to 55 inches. Fuel was reduced to 340 gallons for a 500-mile race, and only 40 gallons were allowed to be on board the car, all on the left side. At the beginning of the 1974 season, wing size became even smaller, 43 inches, and fuel for 500 miles reduced to 280 gallons, still 40 gallons in the car, most of it on the left side. But it's not easy to slow down an Indianapolis car. These smaller wings offer a 600-pound downforce when air hits the front, and when it gets to the back, it's a 1,600-pound downforce, virtually gluing the car to the track. What has this to do with speed? Well, with a reduced horsepower this year, straightaway speeds have gone down some 9 miles an hour, from 214 to 205 miles an hour. But in the turns, surprisingly enough, the speeds are higher. Not by much, by about 1 mile an hour. These are average speeds taken from cars that practiced and qualified this year. Why are turn speeds up? Because of the continuing development in tires. That skinny fellow on the left was a 1919 model that blew out more often than not. But soon after racing cars became sophisticated, the profile racing tire of the 20s appeared, the balloon tire. And then as cars became more sophisticated and faster, the wide rim, small tire came about, as we saw on the roadsters in the 50s when speeds went to 150 miles an hour. Then the rear engine tires came and speeds went up to the 170s with this treaded model. And now this year, we have the big, wide, slick tires with no tread at all on the backside and speeds close to 200 miles an hour.
Okay, that piece, of course, recorded earlier in the pits by Chris Economaki, and now Johnny Rutherford has come in for a pit stop, and the yellow is still out. Again, using that yellow.
Yeah, he just cleaned his visor there. He's running a very heady sort of race. You can see he's doing plenty while he's in the pits.
A partnership here of Texas and England. The car, of course, from the team that was created by the late, great driver, Bruce McLaren. Boy, he would have loved to be here today, wouldn't he?
Oh, look, I think we're going to have an unusual sight, Jim. Under the yellow, the two leaders are going to be running almost side by side at 80 miles an hour. That's like shadow boxing with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier or something.
Yeah, of course, Rutherford just came out of the pits. AJ was on the course.
The gloves are off now, I'll tell you that. Look at AJ. He was waiting for that one. Absolutely waiting for it.
Well, what happened was the green came out, as you saw at that moment. We've seen this so many times as the years have gone by. AJ really seems to see the green that split second before anybody else.
It sure does. I wonder if they've hooked a light up in his car. Right. It goes on a couple of seconds. Boy, he had a real instinct there. Of course, Rutherford was handicapped by the fact that he had just come off his pit stop and probably didn't realize the thing was coming that soon.
Okay, well, the big lead has disappeared again. It's almost wheel-to-wheel racing.
Back again here at our Indy Observation Room, the 58th Indianapolis 500. And now, after 125 laps with only 75 to go in this great event, there are a total of, 15 cars out of the race. That means that there are 18 still running, and you see the reasons along with the car number and the lap that they went out. So with 15 out and 18 running, it still continues to be a very competitive race. The average speed has dropped off somewhat because of the many caution lights and yellow flags due to the towing in of cars, disabled cars. It's down to 155 miles per hour average speed for the men up front, and which happen to be 2 Texans. And, of course, we have to praise the officials here, led by Chief Steward Tom Benford, who yesterday told the drivers only they can make a good start and only he can make a bad one. So we got the proper start, and they are racing as only racing should be conducted.
And, of course, here's Foyt leading. You don't want to forget that. He's gotten back into this thing, and there's Johnny right behind him.
Okay, so A.J. Foyt is back in front, as we indicated. Johnny Rutherford is second. Bobby Unser is third. Chrissy Katamaki is down with team manager of McLaren, Teddy Mayer.
Teddy Mayer, Johnny Rutherford's team manager. You dropped to second, Teddy. Is this because of the pit work, or is it a plan to save fuel?
No, we think that if we can finish the race on 2 more stops, and Foyt has to make 3, that we'll be in good shape. He's 1 stop behind us.
Okay, there's the strategy in Johnny Rutherford's pit. 2 stops to the checkered flag, and 3, they say, for A.J. Foyt. Only time will tell who's right. Back to you, Jim.
Okay, Chris. Well, of course, Teddy Mayer summed it up, and he said A.J. Foyt, in his opinion, must make 1 more stop than he must. Teddy, by the way, is an American, although the manager of an English team, the nephew of former Governor Scranton of Pennsylvania, and his younger brother, Timmy, died on a race course not too many years ago.
Yeah, Timmy was a driver that might have been world champion, and I think that it's an extraordinary family. I think that Teddy might conceivably be one of the very brightest, if not the brightest men all along that pit lane, which in a race of this kind, with the strategy involved, means that Johnny Rutherford, in my view, has in his hip pocket a real advantage.
A.J. Foyt has in his own head a very good advantage, however, and right now he must be very carefully calculating how he's going to keep the lead in this race while having to take apparently 1 more pit stop. It'll be a tough thing to do. He'll have to pull away from Rutherford, and at the moment he isn't doing that.
No, he's staying, Rutherford's staying really right on his tail. All right, here's Al Unser. Now,
Al Unser, who had been running very, very well, obviously slowing down, coming down on the apron.
I wonder, he was third. He was running as high as third, Jim.
He had been. Then, yeah, Bobby got back in front of him, and the brothers have been dicing all day.
Could this be a repeat of his brother's fuel problem? He just seems to be coasting gently along.
But good.
Wait a second.
And there is Bobby into the pits right now. Car number 48. He's in 3rd place in the race behind Foyt and Rutherford.
I saw Mike Hiss ducking in front of him. Hiss has had some problems, but he continues in the race.
Okay, and there is A.J. And he's going to come in.
Decided to pit. I'm pretty sure we're running under a yellow here.
He almost went across that dotted line. The yellow, of course, for Al Unser.
Yeah, precisely. That's what it was. I couldn't tell for a minute what was happening there. Yeah, Al's getting a pretty rapid toe in. Okay, here's A.J. This shouldn't be a problem. He's got the yellow. He's gesturing. I think he'd like that right front tire change. The guy is brushing it. You know, A.J. might be getting some pickup on the tires.
What does that mean?
Well, some debris from the track would be annealing itself to the rubber. It would throw the tire out of balance.
Make it difficult to steer, make it wobble.
It would, and it would also make the front of the car shake, Jim, which is, at 200 miles an hour, a very disquieting experience.
I should think so. Rutherford out on the track in the lead, and Bobby Unser still in the pits.
He's running 3rd at the moment.
There's Brother Al out on the race course.
Now stopped. I wonder what happened to his toe there.
I don't know.
He must have lost
his toe.
He must have thought he was started.
Okay, another report from Teddy Mayer. Let's go down to Chris.
All right, Teddy Mayer, Johnny Rutherford's team manager. What's the story now on fuel and stop?
Well, we still have to make 2 more stops, Chris, and so does A.J. We're a little bit ahead of him on the racetrack, probably 10 or 15 seconds. So if our stops are the same and we run the same, then we'll be the winners.
How far can you go before you have to stop?
Well, we have to run about 25 laps, or we'll stop at lap 150 and 175.
Okay, this tragedy begins to take apart in this year's Indianapolis 500. Teddy Mayer, team manager for McLaren, Johnny Rutherford's man, says that if it's the same, they'll be the winners. Back to you, Jim.
Okay, well, Teddy seems to be changing his tune a little bit. Before he said that A.J. would have to take one more stop. Now he says the same. Perhaps that last yellow flag adjusted that. But here comes the green again.
Yeah, here's the green. And, well, I must say, so often at Indianapolis, the race seems to be almost decided by this point, unless it's a last-minute retirement or something. And this scene, boy, look at that. That Voigt is on the very inside of your screen now, and Rutherford's tucking right in behind him.
Boy, this shapes up as one of the great.
Absolutely, right near the end of the race.
That's right. A.J. Voigt, remember, going for an unprecedented fourth victory. Johnny Rutherford has never won. Neither has Team McLaren.
Voigt is not giving up here. These guys are really dicing it out. Just 2 turns back, Voigt's car yawed and swung through that turn. He's really driving it. He's not. Neither of these guys are cooling it. Now earlier, I felt that they were feeling each other out a little bit. We didn't see any desperate driving, but things are getting late now.
Okay, well, there's Billy Vukovic into the pits. He's been running quite well today. Third place still is Bobby Unser. Remember, he is not out of the hunt by any means yet. And Vukovic is in fourth place. Lloyd Ruby is fifth.
Boy, there are the first two right together, Jim. Absolutely, side by side. And A.J. gets the P1 signal, which means position 1. He is leading this race in a bid for his 4th Indianapolis crown.
People can say what they want about the ghoulishness of race fans, but in my opinion, look out. Smoke from A.J.
All right, now what can that mean? There are a variety of things. That could be the engine. It could be something to do with the turbocharger. I can't see that could be good news no matter what.
He does not seem to be slowing down. Does that tell you anything?
He doesn't. All right, now it's coming out as he backs off going into the turn. That probably means it's a seal, some turbocharger seal or something of this kind.
The turbocharger being the thing that works off the exhaust, that sucks in great quantities of fresh air to give greater power to the engine.
Do you think they might easily black flag it?
They are black.
All right, they are. They are incredible. Now
that does not mean he's out of the race. It simply means that the next time around, must come into the pits to be checked by a technical representative of the U.S. Auto Club. Yeah, I'll see whether or not he should continue. There's his father, A.J. Voigt Sr., the head of his pit crew. This is a tough moment for them.
I'll tell you, in the old days, a driver of Voigt's stature at Indianapolis might have been allowed to continue for many laps while they discussed whether he should be brought in.
I'll tell you, even now I'm wondering, no, he's going to go in.
He is going in. A.J. is a professional. There's no point in continuing when you've been black flagged. Once that flag comes out, you must stop. He's coming in terribly fast.
Okay, well, let's see what happens. Let's see if they retire from the race or if they can fix it or if they send him out again.
This is an incredibly anxious moment. Incredibly anxious moment.
It all could go tumbling for A.J. after such a great effort right here. Kanemaki's standing by down there. He's going out again. Let's go to Chris.
Here's the official in A.J. Voigt's pit. What was the trouble? He's leaking oil. He'll be back in.
Well, that said it all. He's leaking oil. He'll be back in. I don't know why A.J. went out again, but we'll be back in a moment to find out. It looks like a moment of heartbreak has arrived for A.J. Voigt. He's been black flagged for the second time. The easy side being ready for Johnny Rutherford. You know, he's way ahead now. A.J. coming back on. He's not even going to make a try, taking a hard left turn into Gasoline Alley. It's all over. You can almost feel the frustration and fury in him by the speed with which he made that turn.
Yeah, I think there's a question of pride there, Jim. A.J. is showing that that car will still run, that he can drive it smartly up Gasoline Alley and back into his garage. I feel devastated myself. I thought we were going to have a real chance to see history today. I really did, and that chance has just been denied by what is probably a very minor breakage on A.J. Voigt's part. Not really a human error in a pit stop, and certainly not a driving error. I don't think that anybody drove better throughout this race to this point than A.J. Voigt.
Well, a moment of history may still be made in the comparatively young life, 36 years old, of Johnny Rutherford, another Texan, in the McLaren car from England, remember. He is the leader. In second place now, number 48, Bobby Unser. He's won the race before. Rutherford never has. Bobby Unser is not out of it. He's still close enough to take a shot, possibly, if he can go faster, and if he has a better fuel situation than Johnny Rutherford. Remember, that's going to be the question, and there is still the question as to whether either of these cars can go all the way on the fuel. There's a sad picture. A.J. Voigt Sr. wrapping it all up for 1974. one thing you can be sure of, they'll be back to try again. You're going to bring Rutherford, the leader, in for fuel, as you see, on the next time around. And he can take that, well, not really leisurely. When you say he can back off a little bit, Sam, what do you mean, 5 miles an hour?
No, probably 2 or 3 in this case, but that's an abstract figure. What it really means is that as you go through the turns, Jim, instead of really fighting the wheel, pushing it right up against the wall, being on and off the throttle, doing a million things through the turn, you'll just be gliding through. The car can be glided through a turn and only lose a couple, 3 miles an hour, especially with a driver of Rutherford's skill at the wheel.
That's a good point, that the race driver isn't thinking in terms of miles an hour or even necessarily RPMs at that point. It's just the feel. It feels a little easier.
Yeah, and here he comes into the pits, gliding in pretty smoothly. I must say, I'm very anxious to see what, if anything, Bobby Unser has up his sleeve at this point. They ran very conservatively early. At the moment, Johnny here seems to be controlling the race, but Dan Gurney and those boys weren't born yesterday, and I'm sort of anxious to see what may be going to happen. Look at this stop. Now, he's shaking his head. He was offered a drink. His mind is out on the racetrack right now. He can't wait to get back out there. It feels funny for him to be stopped, I can tell you that. This is a very funny moment for him. The crewmen just appear like Martians, all decked out in their fireproof stuff. His life, his world right now is at 200 miles an hour on this racetrack, and he won't feel normal until he's back up to that speed, which will be around about turn 2. That's as far as it takes when he pulls out of the pits here. And incidentally, he's doing 0 to 60 in probably about 3.5 seconds.
Johnny Rutherford then returning to his native habitat, the race course.
Quite so.
Don't feel right.
Quite so.
Good point, Sam. Johnny Rutherford, still the leader in the race. Bobby Unser in second in that white car, number 48. Remember, that's the one prepared by Dan Gurney. And now we're showing the relationship all the way around to Johnny Rutherford. That whip band was on purpose to show you the distance around the race course between the second place and first place car. You also got a good look at this huge crowd. We will not get an official attendance figure here. You never do. We do know there are 235,000 seats plus all the people in the infield. Again, the relationship to second place to Bobby Unser. This time we went from first place back to second. As you can see, it's a sizable piece of real estate, but if anything at all should go wrong with Rutherford's car, it would take a matter of 5 or 6 or 7 seconds for Bobby Unser to take the lead.
Absolutely. And we just saw Johnny going by. He was very close to my former Norris Industries teammate Jim McElreath, and then just coming onto that straight, at least 5/8 of a mile back, which of course at 200 miles an hour is not that far, but we saw Bobby Unser in pursuit. We can't say hot pursuit for sure yet, because Bobby at the moment is staying about the same distance back.
Well, there's Salt Walter into the pits again. You were with us earlier. This is the young man who was involved in the fiery crash in the start last year. There's Roger McCluskey's car being wheeled out. He's the USAC national champion from 1973, but he's out of this race now. And Salt still sits in the pits.
Oh, yeah, now Johnny is hidden behind here. He's slipstreaming. He pulls out to pass McElreath, and that's Dwayne Carter. Look at that. He goes, look out. Oh, there's Carter losing it. Look at Carter lock it up. Now he's steering it.
Well, at the moment, I thought he was going to back right up into that wall.
That was a brilliant piece of driving by Dwayne Carter. He doesn't have any experience at all in these cars.
What do you think happened? There's some slow motion now. They gave the move over flag to one or both of those cars.
That's right. They see Rutherford. He's menacing them. Okay, now he's using the slipstream to slingshot him by. He pulls out decisively. He's past McElreath now. Now only Carter remains. Carter may not have even seen Johnny, you see, because McElreath was hiding him. Okay, they go in. Johnny's very, very low. What's happening here is the slipstream off the front of Rutherford's car is causing trouble for Carter. It's making it very hard. Yep, it's gotten him into a mistake, or I should say a spin, really, because that would be almost impossible to have avoided doing. He's locked the wheels up. There again, the smoke. Look at McElreath, a brilliant move around the... Jim McElreath, I'll tell you that, he could have been killed if he'd gone over the wheels of Pancho Carter. And now he comes back, and this is really incredible. That's a real piece of driving by each one of those drivers. Do you realize? Completely different things that they did, and they each did them perfectly. Oh, look at that.
That's another angle.
That shows how desperately close McElreath really was.
All right, that was the same spin. All right, that was the same spin, remember. Again, give you the replay.
Okay.
Tell us what happened about that weight business.
Okay, now picture this is Johnny Rutherford here, throwing out a weight from his car like this, and he'll be moving by. What happened was he moved by Pancho Carter, and Pancho wasn't ready for it. And that's meant that Pancho had to suddenly, instead of having the bite that he wanted with those front wings, he was in still air, dead air. And what this meant was that he turned the car too sharply into the turn to try to compensate. When Johnny sped on past him, he suddenly got a good grip at the front. Pancho did. But he had the wheels turned so sharply that it caused him to spin. Now this is an almost exact diagram of the situation here. And as you can see, the dead air that is involved behind these cars. And there it would be, the front pushing out. This is all right, now here is Pancho being pulled back in.
Okay, we'll have a word with A.J. Foyt when we come back.
J number 4, not this year. What was it that put you out?
Well, actually, it was the scavenging pump on the supercharger. Broke a main shaft or something, just let the oil go in the overflow tank and started blowing it out, and actually they blank flagged me.
A.J., was it because you put the boost up to catch Rutherford?
No, we didn't have to put the boost up to catch Rutherford. We were running about the same speed. I had the misfortune of having to make a lot of actually pit stops, and we lost some valuable time. And underneath the yellow, we lost some time there with these lights here. We lost about 20 or 30 seconds, but all in all, we were running pretty good, and our figures were that we was going to run real hard the last 50 laps of the race.
Well, there you saw it. A.J. Foyt giving us the courtesy of a few words. Heartbroken though he must be after this big attempt for the 4th Indy 500 had failed. However, he told me that even before today's race began, he is planning and in active planning of a brand new and different race car for next year, for 1975. But Johnny Rutherford is the leader on the race course. There's Salt Walther.
Well, all Salt Walther fans are disappointed, but I'll tell you, Salt, they're very happy to see you up here and at least trying to smile right now. Quite a difference from a year ago. What a courageous race you ran today.
Well, I'm tickled to death to be back. One thing I do have to thank, without trying to be a commercial, is a sponsor, Dayton Walther, that gave us a second chance to come back. All you people in wide world of sports, all the various things have done a tremendous job, and I thank you all and the fans.
How do you feel physically?
I feel real good. I'd like to run, the rest of the race. We thought we were going to finish about 5th. That would have been, tremendous. Yeah.
Your hands hurt at all?
Not a bit. Both of them are real good. I really feel tremendous. Just a little bit disappointed, but still, it's easy to be too greedy, and I'm glad we didn't bend up a car.
How was the track itself, Salt?
Track was getting awfully slippery coming off turn 4 and going into 3, getting really bad.
Salt Walther, who still is actually recovering from his burns of last year. His legs are still in pretty bad shape. He doesn't mention that. He lost part of the fingers on his left hand, but he was back this year and made a very good and valiant effort, going much further than he had ever gone before here at Indianapolis.
I find myself liking that man quite a bit, don't you, Jim?
Salt Walther, the guy is still only 27 years old, so he could have quite a career of racing in front of him.
You know what we've just seen? Lloyd Ruby has emerged here. Lloyd, who didn't go well in qualifying or practice. He had a crash. He came back to qualify. Here's a blue flag. Here's McElreath again. Like Ruby, in fact, one of the old guard. Rutherford, not exactly a spring chicken, as we pointed out, but absolutely charging on this day. And Jim, my former teammate, he's a tough guy. He's not about to move over for his fellow Texan, I'll tell you that. Now, here's Johnny pulling out. It looks as if he's going to get it, but no, he doesn't. He doesn't get it. Now, you see, Rutherford can't have the boost all screwed in at this point because he'd probably have been able to shoot by.
Yeah, he almost got down in the grass that time.
How about that? McElreath's not taking over an answer here. And,
Jim McElreath is, as you indicated, he's 46 years old exactly, and so is Lloyd Ruby.
Yeah, let's see if they give him the blue flag again. I doubt if he even looks at it, frankly. I think he knows what he's doing. He's going to race with Johnny. I don't see, there's Johnny making his bid again. I don't see any reason why Jim should pull up. Jim's running well up. He's 7th, 6th at the moment, and shoot, here he is. Why shouldn't he race? I think this is a fine exhibition. Johnny's got a very good car and a lot of skill. Let's see if he can get by it. I wouldn't expect, if I were in Jim's place, I don't think I'd just pull over and lay dead. In fact, he may not realize. You see some, or you often are so busy with your own problems that you're not exactly aware that Johnny is leading the race.
Well, he doesn't want to see that 36-year-old kid go by him, right?
Exactly.
John Rutherford. If there's going to be a battle to the finish now, it looks like it's going to be between Johnny Rutherford in car number 3 and Bobby Unser in car number 48. But at the moment, the lead of Rutherford is pretty comfortable. What about the fuel situation? It's going to become more and more critical. Again, let's go down to Chris Economaki.
Okay, the Team McLaren crew getting ready for Johnny Rutherford's last pit stop is jacking the fuel tank up. Now, this tank showed 60 gallons of gas in it. This is jacking it up so that the fuel will run out. But the question here is, with the top of the tank set by USAC rules, will this be a rule violation?
High, you could get incredible pressure down and the gas would flow out very fast. That's why there's a limit on the height of the tank, and if they've jacked it up like that, I don't know. They're a smart team. They might have checked with the officials for permission in this race where fuel is so critical.
There is 46-year-old Lloyd Ruby, by the way, who's driving a great race here and has moved into 3rd position. And now here comes Rutherford for that last stop. Let's see if they use all of that fuel that must today be good to the last drop.
It sure must. Well, the couplings are on, and he turns down a drink. This is a guy that thinks he's going to win the race. I can sense it. He's charging. The car's working right for him.
You can see they're actually trying to tilt the hose and shake it to get every last drop out of that tank.
It's as if they're massaging it.
It's a picture of the energy crisis in which we live today. But they're only allowed 240 gallons in that tank, and when that's gone, it's all over for you. Now, that should be his final pit stop, but, gee, they've got a good ways to go. He's going to be very, very close, looking at the distance between his previous pit stops. Bobby Unser is in the lead on the race course.
Yeah, and, gosh, if Johnny had to make... Oh, here's Dan. Look at Dan. Now, this is a concerned man. He's shouldering the responsibility of this team, the strategy. It's almost as if he were in the cockpit with his man Bobby right here going by. These two have worked together for some time now, very effective. Okay, Bobby's going to come in. You'll have to see how long this is. I think it's possible that Johnny may yet have to make one more fuel stop. What do you think, Jim?
Well, I don't know. I think, as I said, it could come down to the final lap to see whether he can make it or not. It also depends whether there's any more fuel at all in that tank. Now, here is Bobby Unser in for his final pit stop. Well, it's very much in doubt. You really can't tell who's going to win. We'll find out very shortly. And now, Sam, these must be the moments when the race driver crosses his fingers, figuratively, if not literally, just hoping nothing will go wrong. It looks like Johnny Rutherford will win the Indianapolis 500.
Well, absolutely, Jim. Here he's come this far. He's never finished anywhere, even in the top 3 or 4. I think his best finish is around 9th.
It was exactly 9th last year, the year that he sat on the pole.
And now he's leading it. It's been a perfectly judged race. And yet, when he last picked up fuel, it was 25 laps from the end. So he could still have an 11th hour problem.
All right, well, there are the McLaren pits. That is Johnny's wife, Betty, keeping score. Let's go down to Chris Economaki.
And here in the McLaren pit, it's Tyler Alexander waiting, and Betty Rutherford, the wife of the leader, clocking a score. She's logging his lap, 33, 35, 70. Betty, what's going through your mind right now?
My gun's getting awfully tired.
Okay, a quick word from Betty Rutherford, the wife of the man in the lead car. Back to you, Jim.
There's the sign showing that he has an 18-second lap, 18-second lead, and is lapping at 181 miles an hour.
Okay, now this means, Jim, that he is running, 5 to 6 miles an hour slower than he did earlier in the race.
There is Bobby Unser in 2nd place, and remember, should even a small thing go wrong with Johnny Rutherford's car, he can still make it.
The incredible thing is that he is able to pull away now from Bobby, even though presumably Johnny's already taking it easy, so to speak. I'm sure he's driving, trying to make no mistakes. His board, in fact, is signaling easy right now to him. He's got the 18 seconds.
There is the Dan Gurney crew waiting for their man, Bobby Unser. Remember, both of these operations timed so much on the fuel that they had to tilt the gas tank with jacks on the last fuel stop. So the fuel thing is still in there. No one knows how much fuel is left in the tanks. There is the old trophy indicating winners of the Indianapolis 500. Victory Lane waiting for one of these two. It's almost certainly seems like Johnny Rutherford, a man who, as a young man, was going to be the new hot star of the circuit, but then in a terrible accident broke both of his arms and was burned. It took him several years really to get his strength back and his driving skills, it seemed. But here he is on the verge of being on top of the world of racing.
And if you can remember Rutherford qualifying just 8 days ago, which seems like almost forever now, he was coming right up close to the walls then as he set a terrific qualifying time. Now he's giving those walls a wide berth. The track is probably a little oily. It's probably got some debris just outside that black line which he's following around it. He's not taking any chances. If he were to puncture a tire or anything were to go wrong at this point, his cushion is nowhere nearly big enough for him to afford a pit stop, even a short one.
It should be a very rewarding day for the McLaren team, of course, from Colnbrook, England. They've sat on the pole twice here before, with Rutherford last year and with Peter Revson, the late Peter Revson, who has missed so much here today. Here comes the white flag. 1 lap to go, and Johnny Rutherford will have it won. Pat Bedan gives it to him.
This is incredible. Team McLaren, which has made so many dramatic... there's his wife. There's Johnny's wife. She can almost believe it now, I think. There's much less than a minute to go. Team McLaren.
Bending over the mother of 2 children, wife of Johnny Rutherford.
All the people down there in the pits are looking up toward, they're looking down toward the 4th turn where they should see him in a few seconds rather.
You really can see the tension building in this woman more on the last lap.
Yeah. Teddy Mayer is standing up.
Here he comes. Johnny Rutherford, the man with the Lone Star of Texas on his helmet from Fort Worth. He'll take the checker flag to win the Indianapolis 500 on his 11th try. Terrific. Terrific. What a feeling this must be at the age of 36 after such a long, long time. His wife Betty again. You're familiar with her by now. Leaning over, cannot believe it. You could almost tell she was feeling herself with Christmas down there. On the last lap, she let the tension show. Bobby Unser coming in to take 2nd place. And I think the Gurney people drove pretty much the race they wanted with Bobby, except for that one little extra pit stop.
I think so. They had one point around lap 76 where they had 2 back-to-back pit stops on subsequent laps, and that may be the difference right there. He lost about 15 seconds in that. The whole race might have been different but for that 2nd stop.
This lady's husband is the first man ever to win the Indianapolis 500 from 25th starting position. And in fact, only 3 cars have ever won from further back in the history of this race, which goes back to 1911. Her realization seems to keep growing by the second.
It does. I can see Margaret Hobbs, David Hobbs, his wife, with her too. The McLaren team has placed 2 cars in the top 10, one in 1st and the other in 6th, I think.
Betty Rutherford headed for victory lane, and we will be also in just a minute.
Well, one of the 4 Texans in the starting field of 33 has won the race. Johnny Rutherford for the first time, and it's a great, well-earned victory for the very popular Fort Worth native, and the Whistle Ryans and all his buddies in Fort Worth are celebrating right now. He's one of 33. There were only 13 that finished the race. Only 2 men went 500 miles or 200 laps. It was Johnny Rutherford and Bobby Unser. There were 12 Offenhausers that finished, the 4-cylinder, the great engine, and only 1 Foyt Coyote V8 double overhead cam engine. 3 of 7 rookies finished the race, and this is tremendous, and a lot of credit has to go to Dwayne Carter Jr., one of 4 second-generation racers out here at the Indianapolis Speedway this year. Johnny Rutherford with 8 pit stops, Bobby Unser with 10, so the difference in time between 1st and 2nd was only 23 seconds. So our thanks to Joe Cloutier, Clarence Cagle, Elmer George, Al Blimpiker, and of course owner-president Tony Hulman. Now back to Jim McKay.
Well, there he is, headed for victory lane. And this moment really must have very much of a dream-like quality. There's the 2nd place car, Bobby Unser, who kind of embarrassingly has his pit right in front of victory lane. But here comes Johnny. Listen to those Texas whoops down there, as oddly enough, bagpipes play in the background. They must have thought Stewart was going to be around. The Jackies in Monte Carlo today. Sam Posey has been here with us. By the way, Sam, you may have finished 5th as a rookie at Indianapolis 2 years ago, but you did a lot better than that as a rookie on our ABC team today. Congratulations on a fine job. Betty Rutherford, you saw a moment ago, beside her husband. The helmet comes off at long last. In lap money alone, he made $18,300. His total prize money will be somewhere around $250,000 with all the contingency prizes that will be added up later.
The first part, of course, the first thing he receives of all, except for the kisses, is a glass of milk.
Bill Fleming is down there by Bobby Unser right now, I think, but we'll have a word with him first.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, Bill.
Well, Bobby, it was tough luck. You just didn't quite have enough to catch Johnny Rutherford this afternoon.
Well, we didn't. I have to congratulate my crew because everybody did a fantastic job. We had some unscheduled pit stops, but I just have to say the McLaren crew outran us today. That's all there was to it. We ran the place we ran the race just the way we'd planned it, but the end of it didn't turn out quite the way we planned.
You know, we were kind of sweating out your fuel with you, but you know, there was one stop there, Bobby. I think it was the second one that was kind of long, and it looked like you might have stalled the engine in trying to get out. Was that true?
No, I didn't. There was something wrong with the right rear. I don't know what it was, but they couldn't get it changed, and but actually I came back in again. Of course, that lost me a little distance, but that really isn't any excuse for us.
Well, I'm sure humming sweet. It just wasn't your day. Better luck next year, Bob.
Well, thank you very much. We'll be back next year.
Okay, fine. All right, back to you, Jimmy.
Okay, well, he sure took the disappointment like a pro. There's his mother kissing him. Let's go to the winner now with Chrissy Konamaki.
This has to be the happiest couple in Middle America today. Winner of the Indianapolis 500, Johnny Rutherford, and his pretty wife, Betty. Congratulations, Johnny. Did you know you were going to win it going in?
Well, Chris, thank you. I had a sneaky hunch. Everything was, we'd had so much trouble during the month, and it's contrary to any time I'd been here before. And the car felt very good and was well prepared, and I knew I was ready mentally and physically to get out there and try to do the job. And when we started moving up very quickly, right off the bat, I knew we had a pretty good chance.
If A.J. Foyt had stayed in, he passed you just before he went out. Were you prepared to increase the boost and race him?
Well, if it came down to the end to that, yes. We had our game plan, Chris, which was to run very conservatively and get our fuel mileage checks and everything in order. And I was ready to do whatever it took to try to pass him in the end.
Betty, what were you thinking about those last 20 laps?
Oh, I was just concentrating on one lap at a time. That's all I was worried about, getting through the next lap.
I bet your dad down in Fort Worth is happy over this one.
Yes, I want to say hello to him and kind of dedicate the race to him because he's my number one fan, and we're thinking about him, and we won it. So this
is his race.
That's his race.
Okay, the winner of the 58th Indianapolis 500, Johnny Rutherford.